Today, this is going to be me doing another video. Well, yeah, today this is something different from what I've been talking about wrestling. Today I'm going to be giving you the top 10 best sequel, my top 10 list of the best sequels of all time. So really this is just going to be the 10 best movie sequels of all time, just in my opinion. Mainly because there's been a lot of sequels that have been coming out. There's a lot of sequels confirmed for next year, so I just thought I'd give a list of some of the best sequels that were ever made, because sequels are just starting to run rampant in Hollywood, mainly due to the fact that Hollywood is starting to run out of ideas, so they got to go right back to the movies that were famous, and they got to start making sequels out of them, and then they got to make sequels out of movies that really did do good, but they didn't finish. They left you with the ending that just made you go, wow, I wonder what's gonna happen at the end. So they had to make a sequel for that. So this is just gonna give you a list of the 10 best sequels. We start off at number 10, which is probably one of my favorite movies now since I've seen it. I did have Wayne's World 2, but that movie, I kind of have doubts about that movie, as it was good, but to me there was just something missing from that movie. But still, it was still a good movie, but really I wouldn't really consider it a really good sequel, in my opinion. It was good, but really not a good sequel. But the list that the movie I have for number 10 is the Fast and the Furious 3. No, the Fast and the Furious 4. That was a very good sequel to the Fast and the Furious movie. It told a real good story. It sort of picked up from the first Fast and the Furious, and it just sort of went along the events after what happened from the first Fast and the Furious. They focused mainly on Vin Diesel more than they did than Paul Walker, like they did in the Fast and the Furious 1, where they focused more on Paul Walker and not Vin Diesel. It was more so basically they focused on Vin Diesel more than Paul Walker, and then they focused on his life, and then of course you know how his girlfriend died and everything like that. But overall, this was a good movie. Had a lot of good action sequences in there. They did miss some of the driving scenes, but still they had some good driving scenes in it, and just overall very good story. And I think it's one of the best Fast and the Furious movies out of that whole series. As Fast and the Furious, the first one was good, the second one was okay, the third one was awful, but the fourth one sort of picked the series back up and brought it to where it was back when the first one came out. So yeah, that's what I got on here at number 10 is the Fast and the Furious 4. Very good movie. I recommend getting the DVD to see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna buy that DVD pretty soon, because that was just a very good movie, and I was pretty impressed of what I saw in the Fast and the Furious 4. Hopefully they don't make another one, but I'm pretty sure they most likely will. But still, this was a very good movie. If they don't, it was a very good way to end the Fast and the Furious series if they don't go the direction of making another one. Number 9 is X-Men 2. This was a very good movie, told a good story. They focused more on all the mutants instead of like what they did in X-Men 3, where they introduced mutants in that movie, but they didn't really go into explanation, and then they sort of killed some of the mutants off in that movie. And it just told a real good story. The acting was good. They had some good action scenes. The storyline and the plot was real good, and this is just a very good movie, and it's considered to many to be one of the best superhero movies ever, and I wouldn't disagree, as this was a very good movie and I really enjoyed it. Probably one of my favorite movie sequels of all time, and my favorite superhero movies, as it just improved over the first X-Men movie, which was good, but they took everything from the first X-Men movie and just improved over it, and by adding new mutants, a new story, a new plot, and everything else, and that's what made this movie very good. And that's why I got it at number 9. Number 8, I got Back to the Future 2. This was a very good movie, as they just picked up from the first Back to the Future movie, went through a different story. Acting was very good. The story was real good. The scenes with him riding on the DeLorean was pretty good, and the chemistry was even better than the first. And overall, you can tell that everybody was having fun in this movie, as this movie just clicked, and it just sort of went in the right direction of how most movie sequels should go. Really enjoyed this. Probably one of my favorite sequels of all time. And this was the movie that sort of made Michael J. Fox even more of a star because of the sequel. And it's, like I said, probably one of my favorite movies. Number 7, I got Rush Hour 2. Now, I know some people are going to go, why would you put this on here? Really, I love this movie. This movie was funny. Had funny scene after funny scene after funny scene. Had some good action sequences. Had some good one-liners in there. The story was pretty good, better than the story in the first one. And the plot pretty much made sense. And it was just a very good buddy type of movie. And I really enjoyed this, and it was just a very good movie. And in my opinion, I personally think this movie was way better than the first Rush Hour movie. And I highly recommend this movie to anyone who hasn't seen it, or I highly recommend to buy this movie to see what I'm talking about. As this is a really good movie, and probably one of my favorite sequel movies of all time. As you just will find yourself laughing through the whole movie, even if you've seen it so many times. The jokes just never get old in this movie, and as well as action sequences and the plot and everything else. Overall, very good movie. Number 6, I got Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. Very good movie, improved over the first Star Wars movie. Picked up the story from the first Star Wars movie and just ran with it. Had a lot of good action sequences with the craft shooting the robots and stuff, and then the fight scenes with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, and then of course Yoda being added in there. Just a very good movie, and this is one of those movies where this is where a sequel is supposed to be, as many sequels tend to not do too well, or they don't live up to the hype, but this movie did, and that's why I highly enjoyed it, and I got it at number 6. Number 5, I got Toy Story 2. Very good movie. The story we kind of picked up from the first one, as it focused more on Buzz Lightyear, as his character was kidnapped and they were gonna do something with him, and Woody had to save him. Had more characters in there. The acting was pretty good. The plot was pretty good. The story kind of sucked you in right from the beginning. And overall, just a very good movie. And hopefully Toy Story 3, which is probably coming out next year or the year after that, hopefully that follows up from and picks up from what Toy Story 2 did. But I probably wouldn't doubt it. But since the role that Pixar's been on as of late, they probably might be successful and do better than the second one. Number 4, I got Spider-Man 2. Very good movie, better than the first one, as this was a really interesting movie. The story was pretty good. The acting was even better than the first one. The first one was pretty good, but it kind of got tedious and boring. But the second one was very good. You got sucked in right away, and the villain was what a villain's supposed to be in comic book movies, as Dr. Octopus played his part really good in this movie. And I just love the action sequences and the scene after scene after scene involving Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus, and then of course Spider-Man and Mary Jane, and Peter Parker and Mary Jane was just very good, and I just really enjoyed this movie. Number 3, I got Austin Powers 2. Almost the same thing of what I said about Rush Hour 2. Very funny movie. Improved over the first one. The story was really good. You had more new characters in this movie, and just an overall very good movie, and I highly recommend this movie, as it was just funny, and more funnier than the first one and the third one, and just is exactly what movie sequels are supposed to be, that are a comedy. Number 2, I guess Lethal Weapon 2. Very good movie. Improved over the first one. Highly enjoyed it, and it's exactly what movie sequels are supposed to be. And then finally, number 1, I got Terminator 2. Probably the best Terminator movie out of the whole series, as the first Terminator was good, but the second one just improved on everything that was missing in Terminator 1, as they just had a real good story involving the Terminator and John Connor, and then the T-1000, and then the scenes with the T-1000 and the Terminator, and the acting was good, and everything else was good, and this was exactly what a movie action sequel is supposed to